Hi everyone, welcome to the stream. Today we are having the kickoff session for NASA Space Apps International Challenge, specifically for NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur. This session is brought to you by Streamline Academy and Virtual Tech Frontier. Now, if you have a look at our little graphic over here, you'll notice there are two mascots. One is our very own mascot here at Virtual Tech Frontier, Orbit, okay, the nice little bunny. And then we also have the mascot for NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur, which is called Rimau, this nice little astronaut you have behind me. So, without further ado, let's get started, okay? Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is the NASA Space Apps International Challenge? Well, you can find out everything that you need to know at spaceappschallenge.org. That's spaceappschallenge.org. This is the official website by NASA. Yes, that NASA. All the information you need and all the registrations you will do is through this primary website. And this year, they are teaming up with NASA Heliophysics to bring you the theme called The Sun Touches Everything. What does that mean? Well, the NASA Space Apps Challenge itself is a global hackathon that runs for 2 days, where NASA will release data and challenges for kids in primary school, secondary school, and universities to participate. Now, this challenge with this team means that this year, the data and probably all of the challenges will have something to do with the star in our own solar system. So, how do you even get started? Maybe you've just seen this today or you've heard about it and you want to get going right away. Well, good news. You want to head back to spaceappschallenge.org and there'll be a nice little green button, okay, for you to register today. Very, very simple. If you can't find this button, I'm sorry, we don't know how to make it more obvious for you, okay? When you click the register today, then it'll take you to a screen where it has step-by-step instructions. You will want to follow these. Now, here's the thing that you need to be aware of. Because this is a global challenge, the most important part for you to remember is that you need to find a local event. You'll notice that it's step 3, okay? The local event, you can filter by country. So for example, NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur, you'll be able to filter by Malaysia. But when you filter by Malaysia, you may not just discover NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur, you may also discover the events that are happening in East Malaysia, such as the ones for Kuching. So make sure you select the right one. If you register for the wrong event, you may be ineligible, okay? Now, once you've registered, you're gonna need updates. So for those kind of updates, you're gonna wanna follow 2 different social medias. First, you will wanna follow Streamline Academy. That's with 2 E's, okay? This is not a typo, so make sure you get this right. You wanna follow Streamline Academy for all the challenge updates relating to NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur and the global challenge at large. But if you want tips, tricks, and other fun little bits, you will want to follow us at metoworld.io. That's metoworld.io. You can find both of us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll give you guys a second to get looking for it. Remember, Streamline is with 2 E's. We often get that one wrong, so make sure you get it right. You should be able to see all of the updates you need on Facebook throughout this period. The contest itself the hackathon itself runs in October. So between now and then, we're gonna have plenty of material for you to refer to. And we're gonna give you some of our thoughts about how you could tackle the challenges. And hopefully they'll give you a good head start, okay? In time for the hackathon itself, which runs across the 2 days. Now, you're thinking, well, if this is a hackathon, do I need to know coding to join? This is a common question. We get it every year. And the good news is you actually don't. Even though it's called a hackathon, the NASA Space Apps challenges are across multiple categories. Of course, there are different levels. Some of them are beginner level, some are intermediate, and some are advanced. Now, for the advanced or intermediate ones, there may be some coding involved since it involves some of the data from NASA itself, but you'll be happy to know that in every year, the challenges are very diverse and the kind of solutions that you can get are equally diverse. Last year itself, we had participants in teams from all across the world produce comics, board games, some produce gaming apps, some just took the data and made it digestible for the public. So it doesn't really matter if you're really good at science, if you have a knack for mathematics, or if you know coding. What you really need is the drive, the interest to join, and you just have to get a little creative. So don't let inability to code stop you from joining. Just get a team, get a teacher, and you can get going. But today, we're not going to talk too much about the challenges. There's going to be more information coming out about that later in August, throughout September, as we approach D-Day on October 5th and 6th. Remember, those are the 2 days where the hackathon starts proper, from the morning all the way until the night. But this session is meant to kick off, and we want to make sure that you are best prepared to do your best in that challenge. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, my name is Johan, and I represent Virtual Tech Frontier. Now, as a tech company, we specialize in giving, well, technology solutions that increase human engagement. That's just a fancy way of saying that we know a lot about technology, okay? And today specifically, for the NASA Space Apps Challenge, what I'm going to share with you is how you could consider using the metaverse and artificial intelligence in your challenge solution. Now, I want to make it clear, this isn't a mandatory thing as part of the competition. You don't have to use a metaverse solution. You don't have to use AI in each challenge. Some challenges may require it, but most should not. This is strictly optional because we believe that by using these kind of technologies, you can set yourself apart and give yourselves a real fighting chance when you go global. Now, if everybody's okay, we'll jump right in. Now, before we talk really deep about metaverse and artificial intelligence, since these are pretty high levels of technology, let's take a step back and take a trip through time and space. I hope you're ready. And we're taking a trip back through time and space actually to talk about something very near and dear to all our hearts, and that is the internet. The backbone of this global hackathon and something that has been absolutely necessary to develop before we could even get to technologies like the metaverse and artificial intelligence. So let's talk about the internet. What do you have to know? Well, a quick crash course. Did you know that we are actually approaching so-called the third version of the internet very quickly? It's kind of like Marvel movies, right? The first one did so well and we just couldn't help but make it better. But let's actually walk through, what does that mean? There was a first version of the internet? Who was that for? What was it like? Well, let's talk through one step at a time. But I promise I'll make it quick. So, back in the days, there's something called the early days of the internet, when there was something like the dot-com boom and everybody was just starting to get online. It was a Department of Defense project, and then it went public and universities were on it. This was before it went widespread and access was ubiquitous like it is today. But in Web 1, the easiest way for you to understand it is that the web was very one way. There wasn't much you can do. If you could imagine a digital library, that's what it was. You'd go online, you'd find something, chances are you'd be able to read it, you'd be able to watch it, and not much more, right? It was very simple. And it was at this time that the net kind of exploded and everybody was making their own websites, but it wasn't really the time where people started selling anything yet, or we started following people. That came a little bit later. This was more about the start of the internet, when all of the information that we take for granted today, that is everywhere, was starting to be placed, okay? So, from Web 1, we moved to present day. That was back in the day. Now let's talk Web 2, which is today. So the world we live in right now can be categorized as Web Stage 2. Now what does that mean? Well, before this, in Web 1, when the web was one way, things were simple. But now, in Web 2, the world that we interact with often allows us not just to go to a website, but we can also do something further. Not by ourselves, but with other members of the community, other web users. So Web 2 went from one way to two ways. What does this mean in tangible terms? Well, If you're familiar with applications like Facebook and Instagram, you don't just go on there and scroll mindlessly. You can like, you can share, you can comment. So this is more of a two-way engagement. Now, this is why we have Web 2. This kind of engagement allows us to subscribe, and we tell the website, hey, I like this, I want to see more. So give me more of it over time. And we have algorithms that now are really good at showing us more of what we want to see. So that's why you kind of get locked into this situation of, oh my God, I can't stop scrolling, because they've gotten really, really good at this. And the algorithms that guess what we want to see and then show them to us, these are one of the earlier forms of intelligence, right? But we'll get to intelligence a little bit later. Back to Web 2. One of the things that you need to note, the differences between Webs 1 and 2 is in Web 2, the world that we live in today, sure, we have the Instagram, the TikToks of the world, but you have to realize that in this world, a lot of the tools are free, and the only reason they are free is because we are trading our data for it. So we're kind of selling our digital souls, right? We trade all our information. They know where we live, our names, our interests, what we buy. When we buy them, they know our buying power. So this is the exchange that we've made with bigger companies. And in Web 2, this is common. And because this is so common, it has actually informed what is happening in Web 3, which we'll get to right now. So Web 3 is about decentralization. Because the web that we have today is very much owned by a lot of the bigger companies that have all these platforms that all of us use on a daily basis. Web 3 is about taking back ownership. You may be familiar with companies like Apple, for example, pushing a lot of privacy. They say that your data is your own, share it with only who you want. So things like this are elements of Web 3. You may have heard of other components such as blockchain technology. This includes crypto, NFTs, and the like. All of that falls under the web that is soon to come, but not quite here yet. We see elements of it, but it's not everywhere. The metaverse is one of these items. So if we were to just very quickly summarize, right, the history of the internet, there are broadly three stages. Web 1, the web that was one way, can be known as the information economy, because all you were doing is going online, getting information, and that was it. Now, in Web 2, where we are today, and we're slowly upgrading from, we are in the platform economy, because everybody uses platforms. We're all on social media, we all have free accounts and websites, we all have Google accounts and Microsoft accounts, and we use it for everything. But it's owned by the bigger companies. They are the platforms that allow us to use all manner of services that we know and we love for free in exchange for our data. And because we're exchanging our data for it, then we have Web 3, which is up and coming. And that is the ownership economy, where we want to take back control from some of these platforms and we want to decentralize. We still haven't had a surefire way to guarantee that yet, but in due time, we'll get there. Now that should give you enough of a basis to understand where we've been and where we're gonna be. So let's get real. If you're gonna use the metaverse at all in your solution, you need to know what it is. So what is the metaverse? If you were given a test, you would probably see options that look something like this. And the thing is, most people that are familiar with the metaverse right now, they'd say a combination of these things. There's a lot of people that misinterpret what it means, but let's cut straight to the chase. The correct answer of what the metaverse is this one. They are 3D virtual worlds. However, these 3D virtual worlds must be interconnected. They must be within a network. And the second important part is they must also be viable alternatives to the real world. If not, we don't consider them metaverses. We only consider them metaverse-like. Now let me say that again. What is a metaverse? It is a network of 3D virtual worlds that are viable alternatives to the real world. Okay? Now that you're with me, let's talk about some names, some examples that will be easier for you to follow, right? You may have heard of games like Minecraft and Roblox, or even VR chat. Now these are the common ones that probably give you a better idea of what a metaverse can be like. Most of you that are going to participate are probably going to be familiar with Roblox. So the idea here is when you go into Roblox, you have an account, a single account that allows you to play all the different modes in Roblox. It also allows you to play in different maps using different skins. You can earn Robux, and with those Robux, you can acquire some other things. So within that platform, there's a social element, there's a gaming element, there's an ownership element, but there's also a commerce element. These are some of the building blocks that make up the fundamentals of a metaverse. Now, if you want true metaverse solutions, then you have these at the bottom, like Sandbox, Decentraland, and of course, our own, from VTF's, Mito World. So, the metaverse, being 3D virtual worlds, can be a little bit intimidating, I won't lie, right? To build your own 3D world, that can be a challenge. I mean, you do it in The Sims, you probably do a little bit of it in Roblox, but if you wanted to do this for a project, I know some of you might be hesitating, but don't worry. We have a solution for you. Like we said, the NASA Space Apps Challenge doesn't require coding. So the solution that we've built, Mito World, is also a no-code solution. If you're familiar with Canva, then that's probably the closest comparison I'd be able to make. But before we go too deep into that, let's take a glimpse of what the metaverse could actually be like. Now, there are some movies that reference this. For example, Ready Player One, they show the Oasis, and in the Oasis, everyone is interconnected and they can go from world to world for different experiences. They can carry over what they've earned throughout the lifetime of their account and achieve different things with team members. So there's social element, there's a competitive element, there's the commerce element, and they get to build their own avatar, build their own experiences. Now, of course, in reality, what we're gonna see is probably gonna look a bit more like a game. Now, in games, for example, like Fortnite or PUBG, you see crossovers where real-world companies like Samsung or even the MCU, they come in for collaborations and they make these grand events happen, right? So you're bringing a whole bunch of different characters and different worlds and you allow them to collide. So these are some of the ideas that allow a metaverse to really function and thrive. Now, we're not expecting you to just go out and build one of these as part of your NASA Space Apps Challenge solution. It'll be too much. Like, we know that's not enough time and we don't want to put unnecessary pressure on you, so relax, okay? But, as I mentioned before, at Virtual Tech Frontier, we've developed a platform. It's called Mito World. So if you go to mitoworld.io, you can sign up for free and you can publish your own metaverse in minutes. Now, we've prepared a little sample for you to give you an idea of what you could make. Now, since the challenge is about space, depending on whichever challenge you choose to take up, you can approach it in different manners. Remember, we talked about some participants in the past, they made board games. Some of them made their own apps. Some of them made comics. Some did choose to go deep, drill down the data, process it, and some went to their community to start building information hubs. Now, there are many ways you could go about to solve the different challenges given to you by NASA using their data. Now, this year, once you've seen what one of the challenges is and it speaks to you and your team, you can consider jumping on to Mito World and putting your research, putting a journey that people can experience on our platform. Remember, since it's free to build, you can start experimenting with it even as you're thinking and strategizing with your team about how you'd like to go about solving one of NASA's challenges, because they can be pretty tough, even the beginner ones. So it can look something like what you see behind me here. You can create a world. We have blueprints for you so you don't have to make it from scratch. You just jump in, select a map you like, and voila, you're done within minutes. Whatever 3D assets you have, put them up there. If you have a comic you're working on, put it up there. You have storyboards you're working on, text, video, audio, put it up there. Craft a story so that it can be delivered in the way that you want. Take your time to refine how it looks, how it feels, how it plays, until it's ready for D-Day in October. Now, of course, this will work for those of you that are very visual. We're not saying this is a one-size-fits-all, okay? If you have a solution that probably doesn't have as many visual elements, you probably don't need the metaverse as part of your solution. So, we've talked about the metaverse. Now, what about AI? How can AI help you? This has been a really, really big topic in recent months. And very frankly, it can get pretty overwhelming, right? Everybody now is talking about introducing AI to schools. We have it in all kinds of companies, and there's always some news about something going wrong somewhere. And to be honest, it's not that different when we were talking and thinking about AI back in the day. Now, perhaps we're revealing our age by showing this image, but there's a lot of questions about what the future of AI is going to be looking like. I myself deliver a lot of training around the country for generative AI and prompt engineering. And the question I always get is AI going to take over? Are there going to be evil robots? Are we doomed to fail? You know? And I just want to say, no, that's not going to happen. We are not on the path to self-destruction. So again, relax. There's no grim, dark future in light for us. Okay, we got this under control. Now, let's talk realistically about AI. We did the same for the internet, so now let's do it for AI. Now, what is intelligence? Let's dive into this a little bit. But let's not go into the AI that we know today. Let's talk about some of the OGs, right? The originals. If you've ever searched for anything in your life, chances are you've seen this screen by Google. So there's intelligence here. How do we know that? Because when you search, it can suggest, hey, these are the words that are coming next. These are the things that you may also like. When you type in something wrong, it also knows, and it will ask you, hey, did you mean this instead? And when it sorts your results, it doesn't just account for the question, but it accounts for where you are, what you've searched for before. So that kind of relevance, that algorithm learns from you the more you use it. This was one of the earliest forms of intelligence that has now evolved into recommender systems. These kind of recommender systems we now see in Instagram and TikTok, and they're very good at picking up what we want, right? So it started in things like this. And even before search, another one of the technologies is autocorrect. This has been around forever, right? You fat finger something, but some way, somehow, the message still comes out perfect, right? Well, maybe autocorrect isn't so good for places like Malaysia because we have a lot of language mixing, so it needs a bit of work, but that's is life. We make the best of it. But autocorrect, like search recommendations, were one of the earlier forms of intelligence, and we've just seen them become more common now. These recommender systems, some of the more popular and well-known ones, we don't even notice anymore. Things like Netflix, being able to detect what kind of shows that you will like. You watch one romance movie a year, but it's able to guess, yep, it's that time of the year, we're gonna recommend you another one, and we're 98% sure you're gonna like it. They get really good at this, right? Based on tons of data, because remember, we are in the platform economy. They know things about you, maybe you didn't know about yourself. And those similar kinds of systems are what allows us to spend way more money online. Because when you go to an online shop, like whether you're on Shopee, Lazada, Temu, doesn't make any difference. Or if you're buying something on Shein, they will always say, hey, people that bought this also like this. Or they can recommend you, because you selected a certain amount of items, you now have vouchers, and they automatically add. So all of these are forms of intelligence. They may not be artificial intelligence that we're talking about, but it's still important to know. So when you talk about AI today, what most people will imagine is something closer to this. So ChatGPT took the world by storm. I think we all realize that. And there's no putting the genie back into the bottle now. So when we talk about generative AI, we usually refer to conversational bots like this. And we encourage you to use it because we know participants for the NASA Space Apps Challenge, you guys can come from all walks of life. And you may not know the information that you need. You may not have access to it within your school, within your community, from your parents, from your teachers. So one of the ways you can try to upskill yourselves to enable you to do better, to go beyond what you are personally capable of, is to use AI. This might be in the form of ChatGPT that can help you generate text, or it might be in the form of other AI tools that can help you generate images, videos, audio, and so on. The sky's the limit. It's up to you. So when you want to consider using AI, you have to use it responsibly. This is one of the hot topics right now. But if you do use AI, make sure that you're transparent. Don't pretend like you did something when you actually had a little help. Give credit where it's due. But if I were to condense what I've just said, AI, what can you do with it? Well, use it to power up your knowledge and your skills. Maybe there's a challenge that you're really interested in, but you just don't know what you need to do. Well, if you find out about it now, it's still August, you have time until October. You could ask perhaps a tool like ChatGPT, how do I get started? What is the knowledge tree that I need? What should I start learning? What are the skills I need to develop? How should I develop it? Come up with a plan for me. That's totally possible. And that can be a power up for yourself. If you need an assistant, use it as one. Get it to proofread the idea that you have. Get it to brainstorm with you. Ask it to help you research. If you're not good at drawing, that's okay. Find an AI that can help you produce some concept art so that you and your team members can get rolling in a snap. The idea here is not to let any limiting beliefs you have prevent you from joining, because we think that genius has no monopoly. So use whatever you can, whether it's AI or the metaverse, to take yourself further. And like we said, we want you to use it responsibly, okay? If you feel like you yourself are falling short, don't be shy, just use an AI tool, okay? But make sure you credit it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to say, well, this was co-authored by ChatGPT, aka Chad, or anything like that. Just mention in a disclaimer or at the beginning, say that parts of your report or some of these ideas or the images were generated by AI. Okay, be very clear about what you generated and what you produce yourself. There's no harm in generating something just to get started and then modifying it yourself. It's still transformative work. That's how a lot of people on YouTube get by, you know? Somebody's already made something, they had a good idea, you do something else to it, you modify it, and it becomes something new. So keep that in mind when you're doing the NASA Space Apps Challenges here in Kuala Lumpur. And the final message we're going to say is, look, there are going to be a lot of challenges. Pick your battle and surpass your limits. Go beyond. We've sent people to the United States before as part of this challenge because they did so well. Now, we believe in you. So if you've never participated before, that's okay. Give it a go. If you don't have friends to participate with, that's okay. Just register, then you can find a team, match yourself. There will be people that will be actively recruiting, and we want to make sure that you can find each other. So let's recap quickly. In order to participate, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go to spaceappschallenge.org. This is where all the information is. This is where a lot of the updates are going to be. This is your new bookmark, okay? Once you get here, if you haven't registered, go register. And remember, you need to register for the local event. If you register for the wrong local event, this isn't going to work. So if you're in Sarawak, find the relevant event for your town in Sarawak. If you're here in West Malaysia and you're in KL, then register for NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur. Now again, Remember, there are going to be a lot of updates. We have a lot of time between now and D-Day. D-Day is on the 5th and the 6th of October, those 2 full days. Now, those days are the actual hackathon proper. So everything you do from now until then, it's preparation. And to make sure you have the latest updates, make sure you follow Streammine Academy for all news about NASA Space Apps Kuala Lumpur challenge updates. They'll have it, okay? And remember, it has 2 E's. That's not a typo, again. And if you want some of the tips and tricks, some of us here at VTF will continue producing some content. We'll maybe show you how we tackle some of the challenges, and we'd give you some tools that maybe might help you along the way, okay? The journey ahead is going to be exciting, hopefully, and there's way more to come. So we hope that this has been helpful to you, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon. So remember to follow us, and I don't know if we'll have another live stream yet. We may yet. Maybe we'll have a special guest too. So you'll just have to follow us and see what else we have in store. But until the next time we meet, that's all from me.